Welcome back to the Catapult Effect podcast. I am your host, Katie Wrigley. In the last episode, I gave you an update as far as what Cognomovement is, what it isn't, some amazing use stories, and created my first mini session offer to allow you the chance to try it, because the best way to understand what Cognomovement is to experience it firsthand. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 things that Cognomovement can give you. So stay tuned. That's coming right up.
Welcome to the Catapult Effect, a podcast where professionals like you turn challenges into opportunities for extraordinary growth. If you're tired of struggling, feeling lost, and ready to catapult yourself into the best version of you, then you're in the right place. Here's your host, Katie Wrigley.
Thank you again for joining me today. I know you have your choice of a lot of different things to listen to on the internet, and I really trust and appreciate the fact that you are here with me and you're listening to something that you can implement into your life. That tells me a lot about you, and I have a lot of respect for you, and thank you again for being a part of the show. So as we mentioned in the last episode, we talked about what Cognomovement is, what it isn't, and I'm really hoping that I'm going to see you soon so you can try a mini session on your own. So I wanted to talk about 3 of the biggest things that I hear from people and over across the board from every client. 3 things that Cognomovement will give you. So the first one is better sleep. This has been one of the biggest complaints, and it's also been one of the biggest asks when I've put posts out on LinkedIn and asked, what do people want more of? They want to have tips to learn how to sleep better. And what's funny with the sleep thing, I'll get to that in a moment. This was one of the last things that Cognomovement gave me, but there were reasons for that. But in the hundreds of sessions that I have given people, about 99% of you, and actually, nope, it's now at 100%. I had to think about that for a minute. 100% of the people that I have worked with have reported better sleep after working with Cognomovement. Now, that may not happen the first time you do a session. It may happen the next night. It may happen a couple sessions down the road. Those of you who have the biometric devices, a lot of times you're absolutely thrilled to see the improvement that goes in between that from before Cognomovement and after Cognomovement. The proof is in the pudding. So even without focusing on sleep, this tends to be the biggest quote unquote side effect that we see from people. And the reason is we're down regulating the nervous system. A lot of the reason we can't sleep, your brain is spun up. And it continues to spin up. And so what it's going to do is it's going to take that opportunity at night when you're trying to relax and you're trying to go to sleep and all the things that you didn't get a chance to process that day, it's going to try to process on you. And I've seen this myself, and I've made a concerted effort both to make sure that I've got silence during the day to allow my brain to process. And I also use my handy Cognomovement ball to make sure that I have really good sleep at night. The reason that sleep had evaded me, and there was a time in the not too recent past where I was so frustrated that I'm like, how have I gotten hundreds of people to be able to sleep better and sleep well? And I haven't done that for myself. And that was due to my reliance on cannabis. I can't really say that I was addicted because I let it go. It wasn't actually hard to do when I had a professional that taught me how to step off of it correctly. But I had been blasting my receptors and was needing a higher and higher dose. And that higher dose actually prevented me from seeing what I had already done to rewire my ability to sleep under the surface. And you actually had the opportunity to meet the cannabis expert I worked with, Angel McClellan. And in conversations with her, she said that she was really surprised at the rate that I was able to go off of cannabis, coming down off of the dispensary doses and going to her bioavailable at very low doses. And that is due to Cognomovement and all the work that I had already done. So once my body had let go of that physical dependence on cannabis, I've been sleeping like a baby. And I still take supplements to help me sleep because I was born with a sleeping disorder, even though I don't like to keep that in my identity. It's nice to know that there is something different, but I sleep like a baby. And that really is the only supplement I need. At this point in time, I'm about to go to Norway on vacation. THC is highly illegal there. And so I am using different supplements to help me sleep at this point in time. And I've used Cognomovement. And I have to say, this is the best sleep that I've gotten without cannabis in my system in my entire life. And I'm 50. So that tells you a lot about what it does to help rewire sleep. So if you're like me and you have a dependence on melatonin or on some other kind of sleep supplement, maybe you're taking a sleeping pill, I encourage you to reach out to your medical professional to create a plan to start to step off of it if you have been utilizing Cognomovement on a regular basis and you feel ready to do that. It took me a few years until I was ready. And when I had made a previous attempt to stop cannabis and not need it for sleep, it didn't go well. And after 5 months, I gave up. And that attempt was 2 years ago. Now, had I had Angel's knowledge, I probably could have stepped off much more easily for my body, made it easy on myself, and would have adjusted really well. I am really loving the clarity that I now have because I have this wonderful quality of sleep, because I have a lot of energy. I'm more in my body than I've ever been. And again, that is all due to Cognomovement and the rewiring it's done in my nervous system to allow me to sleep peacefully around that sleeping disorder. And I really look forward to seeing what I may or may not need as far as cannabis goes on the other side of my Norway trip. But sleep, number one thing that I have seen people do, be able to achieve. The second thing that Cognomovement will give you, it really lowers anxiety, big time. So this is the second biggest ask that people have given when they've come to me and they've worked with me and they wanted to work with me. When we're talking about just anxiety, repeatedly, I have been able to get people to do a 180 on their anxiety in just 4 sessions. Just 4 sessions. I've done this with multiple people in multiple different age groups. When there's other pieces to it, maybe there's something else that you're working on that's causing anxiety, it may take more than 4 sessions. But repeatedly, over and over again, I have seen people be able to turn their anxiety completely around in just 4 sessions. And again, this is due to the way that Cognomovement works, those cross-body movements. And I'm going to attach the research that we have. I have a link on my website. I'm going to go ahead and attach to the Google Drive folder into this podcast so that you can see it in the show notes. You can actually look at the science yourself and check it out yourself. But when we are doing those cross-body movements and the bilateral eye movements, it has a very soothing effect on the nervous system. And we take that one step deeper, going directly into the nervous system by focusing on the sensation of anxiety while we're doing the session. And it may go up during the session. It may go down. I've never had anybody leave a session in worse condition than they came into me. And I celebrate if it goes up. Awesome. We're on it. It went up. I'm not leaving you in that state. We're going to keep working through it and we're going to get it done. And you may be giggling if you're one of those clients that I've had that conversation with, because I've had it quite frequently. But anxiety is the second thing, or lack of anxiety, lowered anxiety is the second thing that this will give you. And I also want to point out something else about anxiety. While it is very, very tempting and very understandable that you never want to experience anxiety again, we don't want to completely shut that off. Anxiety is there to give you a warning when something isn't right. We just don't want it to be triggered by a new situation. Oh, this is something I don't know. Boom, I'm anxious. Or I'm walking down the road and suddenly I feel anxious, but there's no reason to. So we want it to be an appropriate response to stimulus. Like if we're sensing that someone near us in a city maybe isn't the safest person to be around, we want that anxiety signal to be kicking up to get us to move away from the person. We don't want to stay nice and calm. We also want to keep it at a resourceful level because panic is not where you're going to be at your highest, my friends. Panic is not a very resourceful state to be in. So we want to also keep it at a level that is much more manageable, where you're still able to think clearly. I'll give you an example of that. So my dog behind me, if you're watching this on YouTube, you know that Tangi's got a pretty wound up nervous system as well. And this morning we went for a walk and don't have anxiety day to day anymore at all. But as we were turning around, there was a yard, and I'd already met this dog before, and he seemed pretty friendly. But the humans were leaving the house. I don't know if they knew the dog was out. I didn't know if he had an invisible fence. I knew he wasn't going to hurt her, but I didn't know how close he was going to get, because he's tried to get close to her before, and she doesn't really respond that well to unknown dogs. It takes her several meetings until she's okay. And so as soon as I saw him, my anxiety went up. She, of course, felt that. And so we sped up our pace a little bit, and I kept to myself, keeping my energy on this side of the road. And as we went by, I realized the dog ran out in the street after us and was trying to go with us. And she turned around, barked once, said, "No." We kept on our way, and the dog left us behind. He wasn't chasing us. He wasn't malicious. But that was my body's way of saying, hey, I want to make sure that I'm super alert in this situation. Now, before Cognomovement, what that would have been was me freezing. And I've done this. Me freezing, going backwards, retracing my paths, and then being late for everything I needed to do in the day because I was going to be stuck and not be able to go home. Or I would have freaked out, tried to find another way around. And there was actually another dog that's really scary. Like, there's very few dogs that as soon as I see them, they scare me. But this dog, a couple houses up is, and if it ever gets off its lead, oof, I fear for anybody that's around. It just, I don't know how loved it is. It may be very, very loved, but it has very aggressive, very mean energy to it. It's a beautiful dog, but it's a little bit scary. And again, this is only like the second or third dog I've ever been afraid of in my whole life. But this dog, I had an idea, wasn't going to hurt her because they had already met before, but the humans have been around that time. And a dog on its own and a dog with its human can act very differently. And so that little bit of a known was enough to put my nervous system into a heightened place. But what was different was, instead of spinning my wheels, going back, starting to panic and going, how the hell am I going to get home again with this dog in between me and where I need to go? And this has actually happened to me in the past, where I start to panic, freak out, get to the point of tears. Really, I'm not sure how I'm going to get out of this situation. Luckily, a human will come in, grab the dog. But I had just watched the humans drive away, so I knew there were no humans home. So I was like, uh-oh. But the biggest difference was, immediately in my mind, I'm like, okay, we don't want to make eye contact with the dog. We want to show the dog that we're going on our way. We want to quicken our pace so that we're out of his energy sooner than not. And he just wanted to play with her. And it kind of breaks my heart, because I would have loved to have her play with him, but she's just not at that point yet. We'll get there soon. But I was able to think through it super, super, super clearly. And that was a functional level, with my nervous system giving a normal response. And the trainers I'm working with now are like, yes, this is an accurate response when you have a reactive dog and you know that there is going to be an interaction. Anxiety is a normal response to this. And again, since the humans weren't home, I didn't know what the dog was going to do. And luckily, the dog did the same thing he did before. And I'm actually hoping to talk to the humans to introduce the dogs at one point, because he's beautiful. He seems super friendly. And I think actually she would probably love to play with him when she gets a chance to trust him. But I need to have a human to human conversation to make that happen with them. But none of that would have been possible for me before. I literally would have been stuck. And I even had a moment of like, okay, can I get past this? I absolutely can. This is what we're going to do. And immediately had a plan without breaking stride, and in fact, just quickening my stride. Whereas before, I may have even gone to an extreme to phone a friend nearby and be like, I kind of need your help. As embarrassing as that would have been, I would have done that in the past, because that was what my nervous system told me was safe to do. So that's another great thing that you get out of anxiety. Just wanted to attach it to a story for you. I also want to share the story of a client with anxiety. One of the things that they had been really afraid of was flying. And so we worked both on lowering the nervous system response of anxiety, and we worked specifically around the fear of flying. We put in specific affirmations, and I gave her different tools. You have access to those on my website as well. Different body hacks as far as using the ears, using the eyes, using breathing techniques to help keep the nervous system calm in these events. And this client had actually passed out and or thrown up on multiple occasions because anxiety got so high. We worked together 4 times, and they sent me a text to say that they flew by themselves from Maine to California and back, and they had never been able to fly by themselves before. And when anxiety started to kick up for them, they used their tools, and they were super confident to be able to fly wherever they wanted to fly now. And that was 4 sessions. That was it. 4 sessions. And the way that anxiety had been showing up, not just with a fear of flying, but they had to leave a restaurant multiple times because they felt sick to their stomach with anxiety trying to eat dinner because they were afraid that what if something goes wrong here? How am I going to get out? And so we also talked about putting real world practice, real world tools into place. Like, okay, when you go into a restaurant, can you start to look at where the exits are? So if something does happen, you know exactly where you need to go and which direction the exit is. And so we put practical tools in place, again, coupled with that nervous system work, and they are now extremely confident. They're able to go to a restaurant. They haven't had to leave early for a sick stomach. They can fly wherever they want to fly. And those were things that had not been available to them. And again, just 4 sessions. All right, the third thing that I have seen over and over and over again from clients, and this is also the third ask, is a much lower stress response, much more clear thinking. And this kind of goes hand in hand with anxiety, kind of not. But again, that stress response, it can keep you wound up, looking at your phone all the time. It can keep you disconnected from the people that you love. It can feel like it is a gap in between you and the people that you love. It also tends to put you into a worse mood, has you more reactive, a lot of other things that none of us really like to do. And that is another benefit, is really lowering and repositioning your stress. And I'll give you for instance, from another client, another success case. So this is someone who is pretty new in the entrepreneurial world, and they were counting on a couple of other job options that they thought they were going to get hired for. And within a week's time, their 2 greatest options went away. We had done extensive work together for a year. This is one of my longer term clients, very extensive work. And what had happened is, instead of freaking out, this client actually said, okay, this is really showing me that I wasn't giving myself enough credit, that I'm on the right path with what I'm doing. And I really feel like this is going to allow more things to come in that are for me. It's going to allow me to 100% focus on exactly what I do, where I want to do it, who I want to do it with. And now they feel like they have so much more permission to fully be in the work that they wanted to do versus these other jobs that they felt they had to have in order to make ends meet. They're really feeling like, okay, don't actually need those jobs. I can actually do what I want to do 100% full time. And I've got this. Instead of freaking out and going, oh my gosh, what's the problem? What's the problem? And continuing to focus on the problem, they're immediately going, okay, if those aren't options for me, then there must be something better coming down the road that is much more in alignment with what I want to do. So just to recap, the biggest 3 things that I've seen with client after client after client, as well as my own experience, is better sleep, less anxiety, lower stress. Thank you for joining me today. Again, I'm going to put the link to the science behind Cognomovement into the show notes so you can check it out yourself. And I'm also going to go ahead and put a link to those mini sessions. So if you would like to have a mini session with me, just click the link, grab it, We'll work through whatever you want to work through on that call. We'll follow up a week later and we'll see how you're feeling. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again soon.
Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend and leave a 5-star review, which helps grow the podcast and reach others just like you. While you're at it, connect with Katie on social media. You can find her on LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram as @CoachKTDubs. That's CoachKTDubs. This has been the Catapult Effect with Katie Wrigley. Thanks for listening.